Welcome back. Well, to shed more light on this topic, we have the pleasure to start our interview with Ambassador Ayoub, Mahmoud Ayoub, Minister Commercial. Well, sir, how do you see the importance and the significance of Egypt and EU receiving the presidency of the Global Counterterrorism Forum?
This is quite impressive and important, especially at this time where the world community is seeing emergence of new tendencies of terrorism. Egypt has its own experience during not the last years, but rather the last decade in facing terrorism on its own land, whether in Sinai or in the Western Desert. Egypt has a vast experience in this respect, not only in the battlefield, but also on the community field, from cultural point of view, economic point of view, social point of view. Egypt has tackled it, but it was a strenuous effort, and we paid for it. We paid from our resources and from our minds and from our lives of our citizens who faced terrorism on our own land. Now Egypt and the EU are facing it together so that together we can do something more positive and more concrete in this respect. Egypt has experience, and at the same time it can guide and give the rules for what can be done with the new wave of terrorism. We are seeing it now in the southern part of Egypt, in Sudan, and in other parts of Africa and in the world. And so Egypt has a lot to add as president or co-president with the EU of this important international forum.
Yes, Your Excellency, Ambassador Ayoub, also how do you see the coordination between Egypt and the European Union towards countering terrorism?
This coordination is very important because terrorism is trans-border phenomenon. It's not confined to Chad or to one country or to Libya or Iraq or Syria, but it is international phenomenon now and trans-border, which should be faced collectively, not by one country alone. If we face it collectively, we can successfully manage it, manipulate it, and control it, and end it in the shortest time and with the least resources possible. We have seen it, and we are facing it, and we will face it and counter the terrorism which you are seeing from south of Egypt.
Yes, Your Excellency, Ambassador Ayoub, what are the aims of the Global Counterterrorism Forum and its approach?
When we see that after the terrorism, we see waves of immigration or let us say refugees are going beyond the borders and to the Mediterranean. So this conference is or forum is very important to stem the terrorism from its sources. It will be quite beneficial to the European countries, to Egypt, to North Africa, and to all African countries and Middle Eastern countries to face it together so that they can get rid of it together in the shortest time possible. Egypt has done a lot in this respect, and we sacrificed a lot of our resources in that direction, and we can guide the rules and give so that it is not manipulated, by the way, by any superpower or any power to their own advantage. It is very important for us, for the European partners, and for the world to counter terrorism together and as one front.
Yes, what are the main pillars for countering terrorism?
The main
pillars.
The main pillars,
Yes.
it is not only in the battlefield, but rather economic field is very important. So we have to see any grievances, economic grievances in the community to face it. Also the cultural, which is very important. Cultural part is very important. So the economic part, cultural part, social part, and will I say a religious part because the religion sometimes is manipulated by the terrorists and used as a camouflage while they are terrorists, pure terrorists, and using the religion. So these four pillars, I will call pillars, are very important to face the terrorism in each of these four pillars, which were very important for each country and for the international community, and especially for the European countries who are facing waves of refugees coming through the Mediterranean and the Atlantic.
Yes, Your Excellency Ambassador Ayoub, during the speech by Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, he addressed the forum saying that Egypt is saving no effort in combating terrorism as Egypt faced an unprecedented wave of terrorism. So, what do we expect in the near future from the coordination between Egypt and the EU in order to, as they succeeded Canada and Morocco, what would Egypt and the EU add, or what would be the outcome of their handed over by the chairmanship of the forum?
This coordination between Egypt and the EU is very important for both parties and also for the issue of facing terrorism. Egypt has a lot to do, and at the same, because we paid a high price for terrorism on our own land. So coordination in this respect is quite beneficial or mutually beneficial for the European front and for Egyptian front, for the African front, and for the Mediterranean Sea area, because we have seen a lot, and until this moment we have seen boats are coming from Tunisia, from North Africa, to European countries, and so coordination in this respect is very important for both parties, not today, but today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow.
Yes, during his speech, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry said that Egypt and EU joint leadership will work to enhance the forum's effectiveness by developing a clear framework to confront terrorism. Also, their leadership will support women's participation in the forum and their role in combating terrorism. What's your comment on this?
That is a very important aspect of the coordination between Egypt and the EU in this. All the segments of the community should be part and parcel of this effort, or constructive and positive effort to face terrorism. When I say all the components of community, I mean specifically the women, because in many cases we find that some of the terrorists have been fed wrongly, or wrong ideas at home. So the woman plays a dominant and important and decisive role in combating terrorism in the minds of the boys and the girls. It is very important that the mother and the woman as a whole takes her own part in facing terrorism in each community according to its traditions and religions.
Yes, also, Your Excellency Ambassador Ayoub, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry said that Egypt is itself have overcame many terrorist threats in the past decade but with the sacrifices of the Egyptian armed forces and police, Egypt was able to overcome and to combat terrorism. So, yes.
This is a fact that should be shown to the world. Our armed forces and our police and the people have played an important role on facing terrorism in Egypt. And we combated it and defeated it, alhamdulillah, and created stability in our country. So this is a good model for the European countries and for the other African countries and Middle Eastern countries to make benefit of our experience in this respect, and the tactics which were used and which were collective not only in the battlefield but also in the community field, which is very important. And education should begin from the, when I say from the school and from the mosque, from the church, and for the NGOs are playing a role in this respect. So we have our vast experience, which can give to other countries in this respect, because we are all in the same boat.
Yes, also Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri spoke about spreading awareness concerning combating terrorism for people of all aspects. So give us an idea about this, please. What can the citizen do? We would like to have a clear idea about this.
Prime Minister Sameh Shukri gave a very good description of the steps taken and what has been done and what can be done in the near future. Egypt has faced terrorism on the multi or several facets or several battlefields which we have faced during the last decade. Egypt has experienced in this respect, whether when we say the community battlefield, the economic battlefield, I call it a battlefield. The economic battlefield is very important. Also, the community and the religious battlefield, because the clergy can play, besides women, of course, can play a very important role in rectifying the wrong ideas which are emanated by these terrorists who are depending on the ignorance of the citizen. And so we need to educate the people what is right and what is wrong for them and for their own security and for the security of the community as a whole. It is a very good experience and vast experience which Egypt can give to the European countries in this respect.
Yes, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information, Ambassador Ayoub, Mahmoud Ayoub, Minister Commercial. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. I really had the pleasure to have this phone with you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a short break and I'm going to be back with you.